Did you guys know that I'm like the #1 Google search last week?
It could be the stuff of history, however, one way or the other.
The Decade in Review. I read an interesting article by Noah Millman in The Week called Humanity's Decade of Disillusionment and Decline. Cheery title, which sheds some light on how far we've moved, not always forward, during these 10 years. We started with Obama and hope and change, but didn't quite get the change we hoped we'd get.
Go sell that to your communist friend.
Then there was the Tea Party, Democrats losing the House, governorships, state legislatures around the country, and much more gridlock in Washington. Then came along Trump, 400 million scandals, and only the third president in history to be impeached, and the first to look like a peach, a rotten, corrupt, racist peach. The first iPad came out back in 2010. You'd think it's been around longer. And now, at the end of the decade, we have huge iPad-sized phones that do not fit in our pockets anymore, but do cost $1,000 and have 45 cameras. Right-wing populist and nationalist parties got stronger in France and Germany. They started sharing power in Italy and took over completely in Hungary and Poland. Oh, and here in America, basically. The ice of my voice broke, and during then I say IS like ISH sounds. The isolationism represented by Trump, look-alike Boris Johnson coming to power in Britain on what should have been the slogan, "Make Britain Great Britain Again." This turn to nativism caused by a combo of China fully integrating into the global trade system, which messed up manufacturing businesses around the West, where we already were losing jobs to globalization and automation, aka shit being made everywhere else for cheaper. And the shit still being made here in America, being made by robots. Because robots don't need a living wage. Robots aren't alive. Or are we? Made worse here than even that by a Wall Street friendly and regular person cold AF vibe to foreclosures in the aftermath of the financial crisis. Totally took care of the banks that foreclosed on people, bailed them out, did not bail out the mortgage holders in the years after that financial crisis in 2008, in the early part of this decade. It only hurt regular people in the end, of course, but not big business. A financial tightening of the belt, causing Western countries to have less money in taxes. Austerity made them just tighten their belts. So their countries, the people in the country subsequently did as well. The businesses did, collected less taxes, led to higher unemployment and immigrants coming from everywhere. And people on the right not being cool with people who don't look like them. One of the benefits of a podcast, by the way, you don't know what I look like. I might be one of the people you don't like looking at. And ooh, if you don't know what I look like, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to take that gamble. And if you do know what I look like, well, I really apologize. I've been trying to rub my face into a better shape recently. Try to pull it down, give myself just a non-surgical hand facelift. It's not working. Rebecca Black's Friday was all the rage during this wonderful decade on Earth. It was a terrible song written by a 13-year-old where she goes, "Friday, Friday, I love going on Fridays." People couldn't get enough of it. 68 billion views or something like that. I don't get it personally. I did listen to it. Thought it was catchy. But there's a lot of diseases that are catchy too, you know. One positive this decade, America's birth rate declined. Anytime you tell me there will be less kids running around, I am game. Marriage also declined. Someone tell that to my girlfriend, please. Life is not accurately reflected by shows on TLC. Okay, babe. When in the 2000s technology gave us hope, in the decade before this last one, everyone had all the knowledge of the world in their hands with these phones emerging. You didn't have to look people in the eye anymore, which was nice. Revolutions were being organized in the Middle East via Twitter and Facebook. But then the 2010s came. Technology got pissed, started turning on us. Everyone in their own little self-satisfying bubble, different information being received as fake news. There's no any more info that just actually makes you think maybe my position's incorrect. It's just incorrect. It's fake. It's bullshit if you hear it, if it bursts your worldview. And everybody hating on anyone with a slightly different worldview than them because of that. Hating on them. Bifurcating and cracking ourselves up into tiny little pieces, or even people on our own same side of the political spectrum, we hate most of them. Because there's one thing they disagree with us on. Plus, smartphones led to people having less sex, which is a shame. I mean, that leaves more for me, but still. And then instead of helping revolutions, it actually started giving places like China the ability to track, facially identify, and crack down on dissent. So that ain't ideal. In positive news, the Harlem Shake was very popular. That's not a great impression of the Harlem Shake. But you remember that viral video craze? People would dance alone, and then with people going bonkers, predicting the decade to come. Democracy was weakened here at home and worldwide, making, by the way, "Take Our Democracy Back" a pretty good campaign slogan, if you ask me. Bitter former candidate, party of one. And rising authoritarian and nationalist politics in places like Russia, Turkey, India, Brazil, Wakanda, all taking shape. Kidding about Wakanda. That's a fictional country from the movie Black Panther. That didn't stop the Trump administration, no joke here, from removing it from a list of U.S. free trade partners where apparently it had put it on the list for some time. The Trump administration had Wakanda, a fictional country, on a list of free trade partners of the United States. That's an actual fact. And a non-actual fact, Melania reportedly now has shoulder troubles because every night she runs full force into the back of her closet trying to escape to Narnia, another fictional place. Planking was very popular. People would pretend they were planks of wood and just stay stiff as a board. Some people tried to stay that way the entire decade to ignore all of the strange news on the planet, but it was ineffective. You eventually have to eat. Or do you? More on that in our Thunder round later. We left Libya in a state of order comparable to a Black Friday sale at a store with a $10 TV. Friday, Friday. We messed up Libya is the point. Egypt reverted to a dictatorship, pro-American at least, while in Syria, Bashar al-Assad, won his civil war to retain power in an insanely brutal conflict that lasted since 2011 when this podcast began. Pushed over the edge in the last minute by the orange monster here at home, abandoning our allies, the Kurds in Syria, who were holding ISIS fighters in jails there, who are now free to become artists and painters. I mean, go right back to terrorism. And Russia coming in and taking over our bases there because Toupee Fiasco, aka the President of the United States, wanted to give his BFF Putin a fun new place to crash. We did have the mannequin challenge, though, this decade. That was fun. People froze, acting like they were mannequins for online videos. Weird how a lot of our trends this last decade were just freezing in place in different forms. Us wanting to freeze time, perhaps, unsuccessfully, because our new decade is now beginning. We've only just begun. I sing a lot on this podcast. I don't know if it's a positive or negative, but it just is so. We became tighter with our boy Saudi Arabia, who likes to kill our journalists and basically commit genocide against the people of Yemen. But at least they finally decided to let women drive. So that's nice. Even though they still need permission of a male relative to make basic decisions. Yay? Pokemon Go. Big craze for about 5 minutes in this decade. An augmented reality game where you could be outside while staring at your phone. People became so addicted to their phones they wouldn't go outside unless Pokemon told them to go outside looking for other Pokemon. You'd see little characters that you could track on your phone and like capture them or shoot them or some shit. Anything to avoid talking to humans. That went away. We went back inside to stare at our phones where it's warmer, with less wind. Trump tore up Obama's main foreign policy accomplishment in the Middle East, the Iran deal, which was at least keeping them from moving toward nuclear weapons and was the best deal we could get at the time. And now they are accelerating their nuclear program again, and tensions with us are raised up. Raise up. We are blessed. We are blessed. Pray your hands. Gangnam Style, whoop, 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 was very, very big globally. This funny man with a horse dance created a song that people couldn't get enough of, and we listened to it constantly until people wanted to tear their ears off with a spoon. And it's very difficult to remove your ears with a spoon. A lot of people try knives, but they think it's kind of culturally appropriating Van Gogh's family. So they go spooning it out, and it just takes too long and they give up. They basically just bent their ears in a strange shape for a while. And what does that accomplish? Not much. It was revealed that for our almost 20-year-long war in Afghanistan, our leadership thought we were losing the whole time, but pretended we were not. How cool is that? What good actors. We ages ago lost sight of any strategic or moral goals, yet we kept fighting the war anyway. But we don't have money to help so many pressing problems here at home that it doesn't make any damn sense. How cool. Also, super fun fact, Trump, our president, spent 1 in 5 days of 2019 on a golf course, despite criticizing Obama for playing golf far less than that. Seems appropriate, though, for Trump to be on a golf course that much. I say let him be on golf courses full time. He can do less damage from there. I mean, it's not good for the grass under him, but small sacrifice, don't you think? I do. The stock market did great, though. Stocks in the S&P 500 climbed 249% in the past 10 years. Pretty damn good. And without any major dips or bear markets, it was all bull market all the time. All bull, no bear. Cited as the main reason people still support Putin's side chick as president. And are, I guess, cool with all the hate, racism, incompetence, disloyalty, and, no exaggeration, over 15,000 lies since taking office. People want a good stock market. Even people, we often say to them, do you own stocks? No, I do not, but it's still good, right? Oh, okay. You don't own the benefit of what you're supporting the guy for. Yet he's a monster. And you're cool with it? I get it. Money's everything. On the flip, what will you even spend your money on if the planet floods? Pool toys? How many pool toys can you get? Just get a good inflatable boat. I got an inflatable boat, $80, made by Intex. Intex? That boat float filling up company. Pool toy filling up company. It's got a canopy, protect me from the sun. It would take a couple bangs. Hit anything sharp, it would pop. It's not as good as like a full-on boat, you know what I'm saying? We're not only not doing much to tackle climate change as we brought to a close the hottest decade on record, but emissions keep going up. I'm on the way up. Thanks to places like China, India, and us here in the US giving up any leadership on it at all, and being the only country to withdraw from the Paris Climate Accords. The whole planet agrees, and we're like, nah, we out. It's so bad, we needed a 4-year-old girl, Greta Thunberg, to yell at us about it. She's turning 5 in the next couple of years. You've stolen my childhood. You're only 5. We've stolen maybe your first 5 years. But she motivated a lot of people, motivated the president, actually, to talk shit to her on Twitter. So to sum it up, this decade has been bonkers. Bonkers as fuck. But the good news is that at least means it could be easier to go up from there. Could be. We shall see. Also, Facebook ruined everything. Can we get fidget spinners back? Seems like those would be nice to distract us again. But listen, it was not all difficult things. It was not all bad things. There were good things this last decade too. 33 Chilean miners were freed after being stuck underground for 69 days. Of course, when they saw what was going on in the world, 26 of them climbed right back down. The Arabian oryx, an antelope-type creature, was brought back from extinction. Of course, when the oryx saw what was going on in the Middle East, they decided to go extinct again. That's a joke. They didn't go extinct again. They're still around. Just witness all of this glory. The Curiosity rover landed on Mars. Unfortunately, Trump was not on it. Red planet remains sans orange monster. Physicists discovered the God particle. Haven't done anything with it yet, but cool. You know, whatever that's going to do. They thought that maybe if it hits itself in the Large Hadron Collider, that it might recreate the Big Bang and ruin the planet. But they're still trying to recreate it anyway and do it and bang them together and just roll the dice. Roll them bones on that puppy. Okay. Roll them bones. Weird move, but sure. Scientists also revealed the first photo ever taken of a black hole. Trump immediately tweeted calling the black hole low IQ and a son of a bitch. 2 pandas were born in captivity in the U.S. Doesn't seem like a huge enough amount to matter at all, but it was a story people cared about. People poured ice buckets on their heads, which cured ALS. Okay, I'm being told it did not cure ALS at all. But it did triple the ALS Association budget and led to the discovery of 5 new genes which will be used to develop new therapies. So that's actually super cool overall. Same-sex marriage became legal nationwide. Wonderful news. Especially because love is best expressed by 2 people getting married, according to my girlfriend. I get it, babe. I'm kidding. She does not pressure me at all. It's just all of her relatives and friends. It's fine. We flew by Pluto for the first time. I don't care. Michael Phelps did even more gold medal stuff. And Simone Biles did a jump where everybody was like, wow. And a giraffe gave birth on the internet for some reason. Doesn't seem like the natural way they're supposed to give birth, but why not? We had the most diverse class of lawmakers ever sworn into Congress, marking the most racially and ethnically diverse in history. This has been a trend. Each of the previous 4 Congresses broke the record set by the Congress before it. More than 1 in 5 voting members now are racial or ethnic minorities, keeping Donald Trump up at night. India planted 220 million trees in one day in hopes of helping absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Hours later, they were knocked down by Trump in a bulldozer. House of Cards was one of the first binge-watch shows in history. Only Netflix's second ever original series. It ended up years later being very true to life, if only Frank Underwood were a total idiot. J-Lo busted out her iconic green Versace dress almost 2 decades after she first wore it. People were all abuzz. Yet when I wore it 1 decade later, no one cared. Jaden Smith cut off his famous dreadlocks, then carried them as an accessory at the Met Gala, which was really considerate of him, because a lot of people cut their hair out of their lives and then just leave it behind, right there on the floor. But no, not Jaden. He keeps his hair in his hand, right where it is meant to be. Or rather, not where it's supposed to be, and it's weird. Never forget, this last decade, Miley Cyrus twerked all over Robin Thicke, making him Robin Thicker. And then she stuck her tongue out for a few years in a row. Never forget, or history might repeat itself. Twerking in general has been huge this decade. Turning around and shaking your butt. A sort of commentary to a backwards 10 years. I am being told no, it's just a thing people do. No political commentary intended. But I beg to disagree. You gotta twerk, bitch. Meghan Markle made every girl's fantasy come true, becoming a princess who hates her life, apparently. Angelina Jolie posed her leg out of her dress awkwardly at the Oscars, if you remember that. And you gotta thank her for it, because she didn't have to do it, and she did it for us. Then she adopted 55 children on the way home from the Oscars. Skipping the Vanity Fair party. There was a viral dress that was either white and gold or blue and black. An homage of sorts to the fact that there are no even observable facts anymore on this planet. Lady Gaga wore a dress made of meat, and later that night served pieces of her outfit at a Mexican taco truck outside. Meat dresses, tastier with salsa. The Women's March happened. Over 5 million people across the globe, many of them in pussy hats, on the first day of Trump's fake presidency, hashtag fake president. And guess what? Men were allowed to attend too. I was there. It was one of the most amazing things I ever saw. Honestly, seeing hundreds of thousands of people, just in the one here in LA, in downtown LA, as far as I could see, people on every block, around every corner, protesting and fighting for what is right and fighting for our democracy. It was amazing. Obama, however, did, in a bit of messed up news from this decade, he did wear a tan suit to a press conference once. It was a big national news story. And with the benefit of hindsight, I think we can all agree, is unacceptable behavior for a president. And how would we have gotten through any of it without Drake memes? Impossible, I say. Impossible without a close-cropped beard and bad sweater. At least that's what I'll tell my grandchildren, Lil Drake and Lil Lizzo. The Me Too and Time's Up movements happened and exposed lots of entitled assholes for being what they are, and a positive step for women's equality around the globe. As I've said on stage before, why did it even take so long for this to happen? How did guys get away with some of this behavior for so long? Take slut shaming, for example. How have guys gotten away with calling women sluts for thousands of years when we are the real sluts? Guys are by far bigger sluts than girls are. How many times have you heard a guy say stuff like, yo, bro, I just banged 4 girls last week. Sluts. What? You banged 4 people in a week. You're the slut. They probably each just banged you and are waiting by the phone now. They're emotionally involved. Give them a call. You can also, by the way, listen to a past episode of this podcast with Hillary Rosen, political commentator and co-founder of the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund. We dive deep on the issues here on the podcast. It's not always just me solo. Sometimes, sure. And sometimes not. We got some great guests I'm lining up for 2020. Don't you make no mistake about it. Mumble rap came along and unfortunately pushed me out of the rap game. My enunciation's just too good. But this old thug from the past was happy to make way for artists like Future and Young Thug. Emojis became the way people talk. We used to use words. Now we use little pictures, little tiny cartoon pictures. My favorite emojis of the decade have to be and also. You know what I'm saying? Yet somehow it wasn't until years later that Apple included racially diverse emojis on their phones. In their defense, the people at Apple didn't realize there were other races until 2015. Breaking Bad was a huge series that came and went during this last decade. I only mention that to remind you that you can listen to the Bryan Cranston, a.k.a. Walter White episode of our podcast, or the Bob Odenkirk one, a.k.a. Saul Goodman. Game of Thrones happened. Don't tell me spoilers, I'm still on season 3. Should I still watch it? Please tell me on Twitter, @BenGleib. Also, I've never seen The Wire, or The West Wing, or Mad Men. I'm still on season 1 of that one. Or This Is Us. Which are most urgent to watch? Should I skip all of them? What's the move? Tell me on the Twitter. And of course, Taylor Swift, ongoing, on-again, off-again feud with Kanye West. He interrupted her, and then they had a beef for a long time, and they squashed the beef, but then he wrote a lyric that said he made that bitch famous. Then she complained about how that was demeaning to her as a woman. But then Kimmy K released a video where it seemed like she was kind of okay with that lyric. She kind of signed off on that lyric, thought it was a compliment. But then really, I pointed out on this podcast years ago that was kind of BS too, because Kanye in the clip only runs half the lyric by her where he says, I think me and Taylor might still have sex. That's the part she approved, not the back part with I made that bitch famous, which seems like the more demeaning part, although both not particularly complimentary. Because who wants to have sex with Kanye other than Donald Trump? And that would be something I don't want to see or even think about, and I regret making you think about it. And I'm sorry that I said it. Kanye West ranting like a lunatic in the White House. Trump saying, you should be president. And he probably would be better, even though he's certainly bonkers and would be horrible. So, how's that for a wrap-up of the decade? All in all, not so bad. I mean, shitty, but could have been shittier. So this next one, these next 10 years, let's do it better. Okay?
Last week on Earth.